Once again, I look around. Once again, I'm the oldest guy in the room, where I used to be the youngest guy in the room. But if you're under 36 years old, I was on a fire truck before most guys were born. And what that means is that a lot of this stuff that I'm hearing here, I heard this before. That the guys used to actually do this, and because of the military connection to it. This is what I saw when I was a young guy. These are the type of things that I saw. I worked in a truck company, had a number of World War II veterans. I had a number of Vietnam veterans. There was one guy I looked up to. He was the most disciplined, coolest under fire fireman I ever worked with. He was a tunnel rat in Vietnam when he was 19 years old. I worked with another guy who was a Green Beret Special Forces guy. Since his whole platoon was overrun. And when you put these guys in front of a 3-story building with fire out 2 windows, they were that guy that was cool under fire. There wasn't science behind it. This is just the way that they were. And, you talk about experience, like Steve, you talk about showing up at the Boston bombing. If you had a situation like that again next week, you're going to be better prepared because you've experienced it. Now. You do have things. I mean, we didn't call it a mental Rolodex, we didn't call it a file cabinet, but you're going to call on your experience and you're going to say, hey, the next time I'm not going to position the radio, or you're going to learn something because of the experience that you had. So when I tell you I'm an old guy, I mean, I worked with guys, I don't know if you can really understand how old some of these guys were. One of the chiefs that I worked with told me he was broken in by guys that worked with horses. I mean, this is how far back these guys go. So some of the things that these guys taught me, it's exactly what I'm hearing now. It says you're 23 and you're running into a building, and an old guy just yells at you, "Walk! Stop! Stop running! Walk!" And you say, "Okay," you kind of get a hold of yourself. I worked with another guy, Richie Denninger, a Vietnam veteran. He said he worked with a captain that would stop him on the way in the building and say, "Is there a fire escape in the front of this building?" I don't know. I'm just trying to get in here. He says, but what he was doing is that was his way of getting him calmed down, getting control of the situation, getting him to think a little bit better. So we're not that experienced anymore. It says, the war years are over. The 10,000 run companies are long gone and disbanded. The companies with the little numbers after them, the second section companies, produced the firemen that broke me in. These guys are long gone. So that's why I think there's so much of a need for this, because we didn't really understand the science of it. The guy, the tunnel rat, he didn't understand the science of it, but this is the way he practiced. I remember a guy giving a 1075. He says, it couldn't have been anything. He says, people are jumping out the top floor window. But he used to say that, give that deep cleansing breath. Phil used to say, he says, that deep cleansing breath before you pick up the radio and, like you say, scream like your daughter's on the radio. So because these guys were so experienced, this is what broke me in. It says, and the leaders that I worked under, you'll follow these guys. It's that your effectiveness is based on your credibility. These guys had tremendous credibility. Jason, you're able to institute this program because you walk in there, not as an 11-year guy on the fire department. They would have left out of the headquarters, but because you're a United States Marine major, with Annapolis graduate, you bring such credibility to this. That says you would be foolish if you didn't listen to this guy. So that's why I think that there's a need for it now, because we're not that experienced anymore. It says you see guys making mistakes at fires. You're seeing a 3-story building, and guys used to say put the shit pot on their head. And the thing goes wrong because we don't have the influence of those older guys. So now, if you talk to the tunnel rat, if you talk to the Green Beret, if you talk to the other Special Forces guy, and you talked about science, they would probably laugh at you. But this is what they did, because we don't have that experience anymore. So I do look around. I am the oldest guy everywhere I work, and there's things that when you talk to guys about what it was like, they don't believe you. So. I think there really is a need for this because since I'm on the fire department, everybody wanted to make themselves better. I worked with a guy who took a locksmithing course because he thought it would make him a better forcible entry guy. Do you know what I mean? So was there science behind that? I says, yeah, there's science behind that. He says, yeah, how do you force the doors? I says, why? Well, this guy figured it out. You know, he went to a locksmithing class. He figured out if you froze the case hardened locks, you could break them, you know, because they become brittle. He was a student, like we all are. We're all students of the game. But there was science behind it. It's the same as there is the science behind this. We just back then, the Tunnel Rat and the other guy, the World War II guys, they didn't understand that there was science behind it. So when I see this, and my only regret is that I'm out now. I'm an older guy. So, you know, I'm retired. I'm not going to watch the fire department, you know, institute this program, which is really, it's going to make guys better. It's going to save guys' lives. I says, I came out here. I talked to the classes with Tommy. He says, you know, we do the fireman down class because you say if you can make one guy a better fireman, if there's anything that a guy could take from here and save another fireman's life, it says that's really why we do it. But I think it's a great thing. You know, I didn't know that there was science behind what these guys were teaching me back then about being cool under fire. It says Harry Ford, guy that killed on Father's Day, said this guy just had it. You know, he had the instincts. He was cool under fire. It says, you know, I don't know that you could even teach that to people. But when you explore it and you study it and you talk about guys like that, you know, it does make you, when you show up at chaotic scenes like that, it's going to make you make a better decision. So I think it's really exciting that we can do this. But now, not to say that we did this before, but as a guy that was broken in by guys that worked in the 40s and the 50s, this is the way these World War II guys conducted themselves. This is the way my father conducted himself. You know, this is the way, you know, you learn your demeanor to be cool under fire, to take that breath. He says, you know, we never heard it explained that way, but when I hear it this way, I'm saying, yeah, that makes sense. That's what this guy did. Yeah, that does make sense too. That's why George Cassidy sat in a locksmithing class, you know, in 1978 to become a better firefighter.